What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Raised.
When it comes to making a movie or series, mistakes are a common thing. And when that said movie or series is set to a particular timeline in the past, they are even more common. And in a bigger number. Join us in our journey as we look through the mistakes in one of the most popular TV shows of the last couple years, Stranger Things. Some of the biggest mistakes that slipped through editing and made their way on the scene.
From here on out, you leave me and my friends alone. Do you understand?
Screw you.
Say you understand!
Number 10, Night and Day. Starting off our list with probably the biggest mistake of the first season. A mistake that probably everyone saw and noticed, but was very excited for the season, who knows. During Season 1, Episode 3, there was a small gathering at Steve's house, and Nancy attended that party. Skipping through it all, and landing on the scene when Nancy wakes up at Steve's house, you can clearly see there is light outside, but when she goes out, it is clearly nighttime. How can they not differentiate night and day? Yes, we say things that are somewhat opposite like night and day, but still a big and easily noticeable mistake that would not make everyone question whether the show is good, edited, or not. Doubts that if this kind of mistake happened, what will happen to the minor details that have to be addressed very carefully.
What are you doing here?
I have proof.
What?
Proof that what I told you was real.
Number 9. Buses from the future. Another thing that slipped through editing, another mistake that is probably not that much noticeable by the everyday eye, but definitely a mistake that is just a stab in the chest for the keen-eyed viewers. One of the means of transportation in the period when Season 1 takes place, and that is the year 1983, are the buses. And the ones that we can see on the show are not particularly that very old dated ones. In one of the scenes, the bus that appears is a Bluebird TC2000. It was put as a transportation vehicle in the late 90s from 1998 to 2003, way past the setting of the series. And it wasn't just that bus, but almost all other buses on the show were made years later. Now this is clearly a mistake by the editors, or maybe finding a bus that was operational for the shoot from those years was hard or very expensive.
Holy shit! You should have seen the look on your faces. And you? Who screams like that? You sound like a little girl.
Number 8. Modern walkie-talkies. As we said before, the setting of the Season 1 shooting of the series was supposed to be in the year 1983. Clearly, the editors had a few things to say about that, and trust us, not in the good way. A very little but very hard to miss mistake for the real ones that know what we are talking about right now. Hopper has a modern Motorola walkie-talkie which came into existence at least 10 years later, and by the looks of it, it was either a Motorola HT1000 or an MT2000 series. Both of them came out in the late 90s, almost 15 years after this time in the series. They should have used a model like the Motorola MT1000 for this show, and it would have made more sense. Concerning this matter, we can assume that they couldn't find the right model for the time, but using one that hasn't been released in the next 15 years after the setting of the show is way off.
Hey, watch the attitude, shitbird.
Number 7. Future Guns. Moving along to the Season 2 of the show that was meant to be set in the 1984, obviously taking place right after Season 1. During Episode 8 and the invasion of the aliens from the underworld, in Will's house they make their stronghold and prepare for the defense against the invasion, everyone grabbing anything useful to use as a weapon. However, Hopper is way ahead of everyone else. Over the course of many shots during that scene, we can have a clear look at the weapon Hopper uses here, and that is a rifle M16A4 with tactical short shoulder butt, a weapon that was not even made in the 1980s, let alone in the year of 1984. A mistake in the series that with a little bit of research and a little bit of scene management at least, could have been easily avoided.
There are just things. Things we can't tell you, all right? For your own safety.
I don't want to be in your stupid party anyway. I'm out. Have a nice life.
Number 6. Chicago Skyline. Considering how things went down in the first season, you would think that the editors might pay a little bit more attention on what they're doing with the setting of the shots, but that was not the case with Stranger Things Season 2. In it, the aftermath of Eleven going to Chicago, we are given a shot of the Chicago skyline. Now, the shot is not that long, but for some viewers, especially for the residents, that was enough time they needed to pinpoint the mistakes that went through editing. Firstly, the Blue Cross Blue Shield Tower opened for business in more than 15 years after the setting of the series. Also, the Presidential Plaza was in view, which was finished in 1990, was also visible. And of course the Trump Tower, everyone knows it, is just a decade old. Yes, there's not a very plausible explanation to this, except for the fact that it would have been hard to find a good footage from the time of the Chicago skyline.
It's Max.
Sorry?
Nobody calls me Maxine. It's Max.
Number 5. Modern slang. Considering the series being set in the middle of the 80s, and the fact that most of the cast is fairly young, not even getting to their Sweet 16 yet, there would have been mistakes when we talk about the slang and the way they actually talk and adapt to the series. During her time in Chicago, Eleven meets up with her not actual sister, and during their conversation we are given a clear shot of her saying the word chill. Yes, the people from the 80s used the word chill, but not in the same context as most of the teenagers use it these days. And that is an idiom for the phrase, an action of hanging out. We are pretty sure that the modern slang was very tempting for the young cast of the series, but it would have been better hidden from the viewers and not emphasized that much.
Предатель.
Number 4. The Burger. In the series on her first job, Nancy is the office secretary, and because it's her first job, we all know how rough it can be, adapting to the environment, coping with other people from work, and while we're at it, Bruce, one of her coworkers, is simply rude to her. In the first shot, Bruce has a hamburger on top and a salad at the bottom, and it is clearly shown as he explains to Nancy that she made a mistake. But in the second shot, which takes not more than 3 seconds after the first one, the ingredients in the hamburger magically change places. Now the salad is at the top and the bacon vanishes and is replaced by ketchup. We guess that he got hungry on set and just couldn't the bacon, and they also ran out of it on set, so replaced it with ketchup? Who knows? Whatsoever, a mistake that should not have slipped through editing.
Okay, so machines that you're working on.
Машина.
Machina, yes. Or
Да-да, машина. Машины.
Yes, machina.
Vroom.
Number 3. Barrel in the wrong place. Hopper infiltrated the Russian facility to find answers about what is happening under his nose, in his town. In doing so, he manages to take one hostage, a Russian physicist, to interrogate. During the interrogation, in order to give answers, the physicist asks for a cherry-flavored smoothie and refuses to talk otherwise. And in that moment, Hopper throws him outside the building, on his back on the ground, and in a short glimpse there is a red barrel with text on it belonging to the Total SE Petroleum Refining Company. Now that is a big mistake, because the French company came into existence in the 2000s. A small mistake that could have been easily avoided with some research, and a little physical strength to move it out of the way. Number 2. Demogorgon and D&D. Now this is a very special one, and of all the things that could have gone wrong, this one shouldn't have, as it stands out right from the start. One of the big parts of the series and how the underworld is understood in the beginning is through the famous game that the crew plays, and that is the D&D game, or Dungeons & Dragons. The thing that sticks out is the Demogorgon figurine, and that is because they got the Demogorgon figurine wrong. And this is because the figurine that was used in the shot was not released until 1986, the year that this Demogorgon figurine was introduced to the game, a game that is crucial and very close to the crew's hearts, a mistake that should not have been made when it comes to a very significant part of the series. Number 1. The Many Mistakes episode. One of the most memorable episodes for us is one from the 3rd season, and no, not by the good things, but by the mistakes that occurred during it on many occasions. First, Steve knocks out one of the soldiers at the facility and Dustin congratulates him, and right there we clearly see a silhouette of someone, and that is probably someone from the crew hiding. That part should not have been there. Shortly after, when Jonathan and Nancy hide in the OR, when Nancy picks up the red phone, the reflection of the upside-down reflection briefly shows a man in shorts and sneakers, obviously someone from the crew. Later on, there is also a brief moment that we can see someone from the crew in the reflection. The shot shows a cameraman's arm and camera moving, a bold mistake that should have been omitted. that is it for today. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more videos like this in the future.